Hello and welcome to this introduction to your ACCA Advanced Audit and Assurance or AAA course. My name's Steve Wittenbury and I work for BPP as a subject matter expert. And in the next 5 minutes or so I want to try and talk you through what you need to know in order to be prepared to take this particular exam and to understand what it is you're going to need to know. Let's start by having a look at the syllabus and think a little bit more about who you actually are. Now you can see a question mark on screen, and the reason for that is that you may get slightly confused if you go straight from the previous exam that you will have attempted that covers auditing, which is previously would have been known as F8 and it's now known as AA or Audit and Assurance. And the reason for this question mark is that when you were attempting questions previously, you would have been usually the junior or the trainee perhaps. When you attempt questions in AAA, you've had this meteoric rise within your firm and you're now answering questions playing the part of the audit manager or above. And as a result, you've therefore got to consider that the context that you're producing answers in has to be appropriate for that type of question and that type of role. So you're going to have to think a lot more about the form of risk that your firm will be exposed to and answer questions accordingly. It's higher level skills that are being tested in this exam, and that's what you really need to be prepared for. The syllabus itself is structured in a similar way to what you will have previously learned, but there are some crucial differences that you need to be familiar with. You start by learning about the regulatory environment, which includes the importance of understanding laws and regulations and the threat placed on the professional services firm by the possibilities of money laundering being undertaken by clients. Then we need to focus upon the threat of ethical issues that are presented by either things that your firm will or won't do, could or couldn't do, and that could also be targeted at individuals as opposed to the firm overall. Then we move on to an area where the firm has to consider how well it's done its job and how it goes about earning fees. This has obviously got to be in the context of ensuring that they avoid litigation due to negligence, so quality control and practice management are key parts of the syllabus as well. Then we focus on a very examinable part of the syllabus, which is looking at the concept of risk. It focuses upon the various forms of risk that you might need to consider at the planning stage of an audit. It focuses upon the use of analytical procedures. It also focuses upon the audit procedures and the audit evidence that you'll need to find, especially in the context of specific accounting and reporting issues, and focuses upon sources of evidence that include things such as experts and also internal auditors. You may also need to consider that the audits of historical financial information that you're asked to think about are set in the context not of a standalone entity but in a consolidated group. The syllabus then goes on to talk about the importance of understanding completion, review and reporting, which is making sure that the auditor has completed all the work it needs to devise sufficient appropriate audit evidence and to be able to ensure that they can then complete the audit by producing their auditor's report. Much of what you've seen so far is very similar to what you will have previously studied. However, when we move on to Syllabus Area F, other assignments are tested, which is where we start to get a little bit more breadth to the syllabus, where we focus upon different engagements related to assurance that aren't necessarily pure audit, prospective financial information, forensic investigations, and even the possibility of looking at a set of public sector or social and environmental factors. Underpinning all of this is the possibility that the exam might choose to test something to do with current issues or developments, and you'll need to stay one step ahead of the examining team by reading their articles if they're published on the ACCA's website to ensure that you're prepared should something of a technical nature be discussed. Now, we've mentioned the exam, and in terms of examinable areas there are a few things you need to know about in order to be prepared, but all of our resources are presented to try and get you into the best position possible to pass this exam. Section A will be a compulsory case study question based around a comprehensive scenario. It'll be worth 50 marks, there'll be 4 professional marks included in there, and they'll be testing syllabus areas A to D only. So it will be set at the planning stage of an audit, so there'll be risk assessment, there'll be audit procedures, there might be some ethics, and there might be some assessment of evidence, for example. But the idea is that it's when you're starting the audit, and therefore that's the time at which this particular scenario is set. And it could be set within a group, for example. The remaining 50 marks of the exam will be split equally between 2 compulsory questions, each worth 25 marks. So as you can see here, there are no optional questions within this exam. And these questions can test any syllabus area, but we know that one will always test Syllabus Area E, which is about completion, review and reporting. So you'll need to make sure that you are prepared for that within your preparation for the exam. 3 hours and 15 minutes is how long you've got to attempt it. It's a 50% pass mark, and although it's discursive, you are definitely going to need your calculator for financial analysis and materiality calculations. It might perhaps be a little optimistic to ask you to enjoy the course, but I wish you the very best of luck anyway, and regardless of the reason for you attempting this AAA exam, whether it's because you really want to be an auditor or whether it's because it's the least worst of your alternative options, you just have to enjoy it enough to pass it. I wish you the very best of luck and I hope that it works out for you, and I thank you for your attention today. Bye now.